I like it. I'm not in love with it. What's the Greek tragedy where the sculptor falls in love with his sculpture and it comes to life? We're not at that point yet. Hey yo folks, I see some odd things out in my front pasture, and I have a feeling of what they are. I don't think that it'll be good, but I'm gonna go find out, and I'm turning on my camera so you can follow me to see if what I fear is actually what's going on. But let me turn the power to the fence off real quick first. All right, I turned the fence off. We've got a lot of chickens and turkeys hanging around, which is good. And that will come into play a little bit more later. What I need to do is go down here to see what I saw down in the lower pasture here. And yep, as I'm coming up on this, what do you guys think this is, huh? I think you know what this probably is. Death. And here's some more. The fence is relatively unscathed, but clearly this is a situation where the chicken was in a fight for its life and it lost that fight. Now it's weird. I'm standing here. There's 2 spots of feathers and there's nothing in between them. There's like a spare feather. There's like a single feather or 2 in between that pile of feathers in this pile of feathers. No flesh that I can see, but just 2 random spots of lots of feathers where chicken was obviously lost. And as you can see, that pattern continues. The murder scene here, that pattern continues. There's very little in the way of feathers in between that spot and the next spot. Again, a pile where a chicken was clearly dropped and feathers were lost from said chicken, but there's no flesh. I'll go to the next spot, which is over there. The struggle continued, obviously. And then finally we get to the final spot right here. And you see one unbroken line of feathers that goes maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 yards from where I'm standing, but it leads, it breaks, and then it starts up again where there's a few scattered feathers, and it goes straight to that bank of cedar trees right there. And then there's no more feathers. So we've got feathers, 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 and it stops at this cedar tree. There are no more feathers anywhere. They stop at this tree. So here's what I'm thinking. Those of you watching probably are thinking the same thing. We are no longer dealing with a ground-based predator anymore, which is what I initially thought roughly a month ago when we lost one of our chickens, our black chicken Molly. We thought there was a ground-based predator that had been scoping the chickens out and that had taken her. And maybe that was the case, but we worked on the fence. We got the fence lit up, and it's been working hard. It's been snapping hard. But what I see here, the pattern that I see here, where there's piles of feathers every couple of yards, and in this case, several yards, maybe, 20 yards from here, indicates that there was a bird of prey that picked the chicken up, flew a short while, dropped the chicken on the ground, attacked it, ate it, mangled it, picked it up again, flew to the next spot, and same thing. It did that a few times until it eventually flew into those cedar trees back there, and then took off with the carcass of the chicken. So that's disappointing in a pretty big way, because that means the fence, as nice as the fence has been, and the fence has actually been really nice, we lit it up last month and it's been hitting hard. It's been snapping really well. So we thought our ground-based predators We thought ground-based predators were no longer an issue. And that might be the case. But aerial predators, birds of prey, that's a whole different situation. And one that I haven't really quite thought about how I'm going to tackle. So I think the first order of business is going to be to set out this decoy owl. Now, don't ask me why I took this decoy owl down months ago, maybe even more than a year ago, for reasons that I currently just cannot remember. And haven't put it back up since. I think Fighter, peace be upon him, he did such a good job of protecting the flock that a decoy owl was unnecessary. But Conan, well, he is definitely a rooster, and I talked about him last week. He's stepping up in his rooster game. He's got some big rooster shoes to fill. And he's lost 2 chickens on his watch. So I think what we need to do is set up this decoy owl. At least as some kind of stop. Had some rocks on the bottom to give it weight. At least as some kind of stopgap. Until we figure something else out. Now here's the thing, a lot of folks that lose chickens to aerial predators will set up nets over their chicken run. And that's just something I'm not prepared to do. We have a big chicken run here. I'd say it's a quarter acre, maybe a little more than a quarter of an acre. And there's no way I'm going to set a net up over the entire chicken run. I think a good compromise is having this lean-to that the chickens and the poultry can run under if they see threats from above, which they've typically done. So that leaves me with very few options. Do I just accept attrition? Do I just accept a certain amount of loss from aerial predators? The one fear I have that I really don't want to see played out is that this hawk or falcon or whatever it is just realizes he's got easy pickings here and he just picks off chickens one by one. Hey, Conan. I see you, bud. He just picks off chickens one by one every day when he wants his meal. I don't want that to happen. So I'm trying to think of what else I can do. Folks out there may have some suggestions. One thing that I've thought a little bit more seriously about is a guard goose. I'd have to look into how that will work, but I've heard people have pretty good experiences with guard geese and aerial predators. That might be something to look into. In the meantime, other than my little decoy owl, there are some other things I can do. I can set up stanchions and run rope between them or twine between them and hang shiny things on that twine. I know the Kramers do that. That's potentially something I can do. I'm trying to think of what else. I think maybe my next best bet would be something like a scarecrow. So creating a simple wooden scarecrow should not be a complicated endeavor at all. I think my first order of business is to construct the cross frame, the wooden cross frame that'll serve as our scarecrow friend's body. And I think I have a pretty good idea of how I'd like to accomplish that task with some spare wood I have lying around in the hayloft. So it's funny, as we're working on the scarecrow, I can actually hear the falcon chirring or making whatever high-pitched noise that he makes out here. I'm gonna go out here and check. I don't see him, I hear him, but I also know that I've got my owl friend there, which hopefully serves as at least some kind of deterrent for him until we get this scarecrow up. So I'm gonna go finish the scarecrow. So we fashioned this little belt loop holder right here that's holding up onto these belt loops, and I'm gonna drill into this main post right through somewhere about there, and we're aiming somewhere about right there where the feet are off the ground. And then we can actually move, once we've got that on, we can move on to the next step, which is filling the clothes with straw. The turkeys are quite interested in their new friend.
Yeah, we have an audience.
Yes, which we need to come up with a name for this guy. Dad recommended Skeeter, and I really like Skeeter.
It has a ring, Skeeter the Scarecrow.
Skeeter the Scarecrow, it really does. So I think we're running with Skeeter at the moment, but I'm gonna get some straw to fill him up with.
Right.
I feel like maybe one more.
Yep.
All right. Now I'll probably start down here. All right. It doesn't need too much. I just want to
just fill it a little.
Fill it a little. Like that should be enough for one leg.
Yeah, it looks like a passable leg.
Same thing on this side. That's good, right?
Yeah, yeah. And maybe some up in the midsection.
Yeah. So that.
Yeah.
There we go. There you go, Skeeter. Skeeter's filling out these pants.
He's had a few brewskis.
Adding more straw just to fill our friend out. I'll keep his shirt tucked in so the straw doesn't leak out too much. Skeeter's a healthy guy.
Yep, he's been eating some of Frank and Beans.
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
There we go. And maybe one day we can add some gloves on there.
Yeah.
What do you think of Skeeter? Is he?
He's coming to life.
Yeah.
He's got a little jig in his hip there.
I don't want it to get soaked.
Right.
So I feel like keeping it.
But you do want it visible.
But I do want it very visible. So perhaps somewhere like right here. What do you think?
It's as good a place as any. You could start with that.
It'll stay dry. Okay, so it's a start with Skeeter. The base, we need to figure the base out because right now it is just not solid enough. So we're using these cinder blocks to hold it up, but I want to build something a little more solid. If we hooked on some more 2x4s laterally, so there's one going this way and one going that way, I think we'd be in a good spot. So that might be my next project. And I also want to get some googly eyes for up here and some gloves and some boots. So Skeeter's a work in progress, but I think we're off to a good start. I like it. I'm not in love with it. What's the Greek tragedy where the sculptor falls in love with his sculpture and it comes to life? We're not at that point yet.
And it's not Pinocchio either.
No, so we're not at that point yet, but it does need work. But I think for what we need it to do, which is provide a little caution to any birds of prey and make them second guess potentially attacking our birds and chickens, I think that'll do the trick for now. Yes, we've got some work to do on our friend Skeeter, but I mean, look at that, Dad.
Yeah.
If I was a hawk, if I was a falcon and I saw that guy standing there,
you might just fly on.
I might just fly on and say, it's not worth the trouble. There's some dude standing there. So some work to do on him. Get him up to speed. Give him some boots. Build out the base a little more. Add some googly eyes.
I still think
and gloves.
A pair of suspenders would work.
Well, yeah, feel free to come in and tinker with our buddy Skeeter. But I think we're off to a good start. The chickens and turkeys are quite interested in him.
That's funny.
So I don't know. We'll see if Skeeter does what we've tasked him to do, and that's to give birds of prey a second thought before attempting to eat our chickens. He needs some work, but I think it's a good start, and I may move him out in the field on sunny days where there's no threat of inclement weather. And maybe we'll get like a little rain slicker or something for him as he's out here. But welcome to the Homestead, Skeeter. We're happy to have you, and hopefully you can help us keep more of our chickens than those that we lose. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us today, and until we see you again next time, remember, as always, slowly, slowly.